Good evening. By now you know that I'm Peter Waygang, the Secretary of the Citizens for Direct Democracy. We have thousands probably of bylaws in the city of Kawartha Lakes. Most of them are designed to control us or to irritate us. And on this video I want to show you how a really bad bylaw is constructed. So I'm going to talk about the noise bylaw. I have heard there is a problem, and the next slide will show what the problem is. So it's the short-term rentals, and as you know, these people rent a property or a cottage for a weekend and they come there for a good time, and in so doing they often break the noise bylaw. They park their cars in the wrong sorts of places, and then the residents next to that house will call the city bylaw enforcement officers to get something done. And unfortunately the bylaw people are usually unable to come, so they never are able to make a first-hand report. However, the city in its wisdom has passed this bylaw and says, we will make the penalties so onerous that this will put a stop to this problem. So here we see it. The first occurrence, the first complaint, you will not be fined at all. You just get a warning. The second one, $112. The third one, $225. And so it goes on. And the fees continue to double, and that's taken right from the bylaw. Now you can see immediately what happens. If you keep doubling, then after 15 occurrences, the yellow one on the left-hand side, you're almost at $1 million. And 4 more complaints, and you're now at $14 million. I mean, this is obviously outrageous. This will never get anywhere in the courts. So let us take a case where an Airbnb or a cottage is rented 20 times a year, which is not unreasonable. And then if this person is making a business of renting out his property, then in 10 years that's 200 times it'd be rented out. Now if you just get 5% of those complaints in those 10 years, just 5%, then you're looking at a fine of $28,000. And notice that a complaint isn't anything from noise, dogs barking, poor parking, litter, garbage and so on. Now the italics at the bottom is again from the stuff with the bylaw, and it says, is a problem they face almost every weekend once the weather gets nice. So my estimate of 20 times a year is probably on the low side. Now the city staff once again show they do not understand two things. And one is compound interest, and we've talked to them about this and its effect on the debt we owe and also on our taxes. They grow exponentially, faster and faster. Now, another thing they don't understand is they can't just arbitrarily make bylaws and believe that they are legal. They must exist within the framework of the laws of Ontario and Canada. And I'm absolutely certain that no court will be challenged and give a fine of $28,000 for a breach of a noise bylaw. So the thing we have here is that the property owner is now responsible for the guests they rent to. I doubt if that is legal, because that implies that if you were, say, a hotel owner and there was a murder on your premises, then you would be responsible for it. And also, most people who rent properties get a written agreement between themselves and their guests. And that, I think, would hold the owner blameless. So that is also questionable. So the fines are outrageous, and this part of it is also very questionable. So what we have now, if the bylaw officers can't get to the site to see the disturbance, then we're looking at hearsay evidence. And there is also the chance of malicious complaints. If you don't happen to like your neighbour, you can keep phoning in complaints, and they will have to be investigated, and you get into some sorts of arguments. But it can be very malicious if two neighbours do not get on well together. And the result of this whole mess will be some long, ugly and expensive litigation, and as usual it will be paid for by us. So what does the staff say? Well, let's hire a lot more bylaw officers. Yes, they'd have to be paid overtime because most of these offences occur at the weekends, in the early hours of the morning or late at night, so we'd have to pay them overtime, no doubt. And this, the opportunity for staff to increase their bureaucracy, is something they never throw away if they get that chance. More and more bylaw officers as we go into a police state. Now, we live in an age of official surveillance. I don't happen to like it because I've read some of those worrying books like Brave New World and 1984. But we do have facial recognition, we do have speed traps, we do have aerial reconnaissance. So in this case, why not use it? So our solution would be that if somebody does have a problem, they get a surveillance camera from the city, and that is set up, and when there is a complaint, the people in the city can turn it on remotely and they can record what happens, and then that recording will be looked at by the bylaw department, and if a bylaw has been broken, an action will be taken, and after the event then the recording itself will be removed. Now, is it expensive? Well, not. A good system will cost about $1,500. That means that for one bylaw officer's salary we can get 50 of those systems. Note they work 24 hours a day and no additional cost, and the fact that they are up there rotating their little heads around will deter bad behaviour, and it's time for the city staff to enter the 21st century. Now, we also note that many people have their own security system or video recorders. In fact, the more and more the police are relying on the videos made by the public. So in this case, the owners who have problems should be encouraged to use their own video cameras. Unfortunately, amateur and official spying is here to stay. In China, as you know, it's reached terrible levels, but in this case it would reduce the noise pollution. So here we have a case where it would be a beneficial use, and we should do it and get on with the job and not keep on writing ridiculous bylaws to irritate everybody, which will not work. So there you have it. This whole business of writing bylaws has to be done much more carefully. Another one which you all know about is the forced hookups, and that I'm also sure is illegal. You cannot charge people for things they do not receive. Interestingly enough, the municipality of Kincardine has repealed that particular hookup bylaw. So they have people on their council now who have a good sense of ethics. So support us whenever you can. We need your support, particularly when it comes to financial matters. May I say that again? Thank you.